Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us today for this United Way Lunch and Learn speaker event. This is the second in this year's series. So welcome to everybody. Very pleased to have you join us. I'm Patrick Deane, the Principal and Vice Chancellor of Queen's University, and very pleased today to be your host. Besides welcoming you all today, I'd like to begin by stating that even though we're meeting today from many different locations via technology, Queen's University is situated on the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe. We're grateful to be able to live, to learn, to work, and to play on these lands. Today, you will hear from some United Way agency partners about how your donations through our campaign are helping them to address some of the very critical needs that are faced in our community right now, specifically in how they're helping people address their mental health needs. This is the second, as I said, in a series of 4 lunch and learn speaker events that we're holding during the campaign. Next week, at the same time, we will be hearing from agencies involved in providing access to food. And in the week following, on October the 28th, we'll be discussing women's issues and their resilience. These events help everyone learn about the work being done in our community and the needs that exist and are being felt now in that community even more acutely because of the pandemic. And this is just one way we're helping to raise awareness of the United Way, and in particular of the Queen's United Way campaign. Our Queen's community is very generous and a leader within our community. Our goal of $300,179 is just over 10% of the entire community campaign goal of $2.9 million. We're the largest workplace and retiree campaign in Eastern Ontario, and I want to thank everyone who has donated and supported United Way through the campaign so far. I have a long history of working with and supporting the United Way in all the jurisdictions in which I've worked, and very pleased and proud to be serving on the United Way campaign cabinet this year in our region. I mentioned that there is another event still to come, and we will share the link to that next event so that you can add it to your calendar. And we'll also share the link to our donation page if you haven't yet made your pledge to the campaign and wish to do so. You can just look for those in the Q&A chat window. Well, I'd now like to introduce our discussion moderator today, Bhavana Varma, who is the CEO and President of the United Way of Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington. And Bhavana will share some information about our topic and also about our panelists today. So over to you, Bhavana.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you to the Queen's community for supporting the United Way, but also for all you do for our community. Many of you are volunteers, faculty, employees, and staff, and retirees, and this community is so much stronger because of all that you do for our community. Donations, financial, in-kind, volunteering, it's very much appreciated. So the pandemic has obviously impacted everyone in some way, shape, or form. The first impact of the pandemic was felt the day that shutdown was announced, on March 17th. Right away, our agencies had to, I know people don't like the word, but pivot right away, find new ways of doing business. The primary need initially was food. So food security has emerged as one of the largest needs, and because it's such a basic need, that's where our focus has been in many ways, just responding to this incredible need. We've served 42,000 people in the last 4 months. Many of them are food services, but it's also having an impact on families, on individuals. We're seeing an increase in demand for counseling, for domestic violence, for sexual assault. Mental health has not been easy, as any of us can attest to. It is a very challenging time. So the attention of our agencies shifted very quickly to how they needed to respond to this growing demand. And with us today is Kim Irvine-Albano, who's with Resolve Counseling Center. And Kim will mention the kinds of services they offer, and it's a really incredible resource. What we learned very quickly was if you're not employed, you don't have the means to access EAP or benefits, for example. So even people who never thought that they might need the services of a United Way funded agency have found that they needed to. So Kim will give you a wide spectrum of people who are low income, but also people who were fine just a few months ago who needed to suddenly access services, and how the agency did an incredible job of finding ways to serve in a safe, healthy way in spite of the pandemic restrictions. And then we will speak with Ronda Candy, who will describe a little bit more about the impact that poverty and low income has on mental health. So Kim, over to you.
I'm really thrilled to be here and to share a little bit about what Resolve Counselling has been experiencing for the last 6 months. We are a multi-service agency offering a wide variety of programs. 2 of those programs are highly supported by the United Way. That is our individual and family counseling program and our child and youth program. Both of these programs offer support to all of our community members, and with the United Way support helps to eliminate some of the financial barriers that some people experience in gaining some mental health support. As Bhavana has mentioned, many people can access counseling through EAP. Also, there's some government-supported programs that some people can access counseling for. However, the vast majority of our programs, of our people in our community, do not have access to subsidized or free counseling, even though the statistics tell us that the vast majority of people in our community are in need of support services. So I was looking at a few statistics to take a look at how COVID has impacted mental health services. And the Community Foundation did a study a couple of years ago about people who are looking for mental health services, and approximately 8% of Kingstonians identify that they feel that they need some mental health services. As recent as just a month ago, some of the studies that are coming out of, I think it's CAMH, Canadian Association of Mental Health, are identifying that approximately 25 to 30% of people are saying that they're needing some mental health support. And when we're looking at younger people, we're looking at closer to 60 to 65 people are saying that COVID has impacted them and they're requiring mental health support. So at Resolve, we are as busy as we've ever been. The United Way has helped to fund some support specifically for seniors that has allowed us to offer some counseling to some folks in our community that may not have accessed services before. So our intake team is noticing a couple of trends. We used to see, we track why people come to access our services. Anxiety is by far the highest, what we call presenting issue that people are calling for services. And we're really aware that those folks in our community that have had previous traumas prior to COVID are particularly vulnerable to mental health crises and are requesting support. We're having many people call us who have been past clients for maybe a couple of years ago, who are finding that the isolation and the uncertainty of COVID has impacted them and are calling to resume services. And we've had many people who are contacting us for the first time. So United Way allows us to totally waive fees because we are a fee-for-service social enterprise at Resolve. And so I want to tell you a story of a couple of people that we've been able to waive some fees for. One person I'm going to call June. June is a business owner in our community, and COVID hit her really, really hard. As COVID hit, she had to immediately shut down her services and has not been able to resume normal functioning since COVID. She's coming to terms with the fact that she's going to be losing her business. And she was a previous client of ours prior to COVID, however, now cannot afford counseling services, even though this is a time when she needs it more than any other time. So June is able to, with the United Way support, come and see a counselor as needed, and to talk about not only about the impact of COVID on her life and her lifestyle, but also the stressors of being able to connect virtually with an elderly parent when she really wants to just be there and support the person in public. So this is a some people who one demographic of people that we're seeing, people who may not have needed support before, but now their financial system has radically changed. Another situation that one of the counselors told me about is, I'm going to call him Brendan. He's a 20-year-old who had his first year away at school and now is living at home. And he's decided not to go to school this year because he's finding it very difficult to manage. So this young person, he unfortunately is not able to see his friends who were his major support. And we actually received the call from his mother saying he's not coming out of his room and I don't know how to support him. All of our counseling is voluntary, and luckily Brendan, he agreed to access some services, and he's now connected to one of our child and youth counselors so that he has that ongoing support that he really requires. Brendan does not come from a family who would be able to typically pay for counseling, so United Way funds is what's really helping him get the support that he needs. So Brendan, just by connecting with a counselor, has really broken at least a little sliver of that isolation. And he and the counselor are working together to really help to find creative ways for him to expand his social network other than being in his room and playing video games, because that was his only coping skill to deal with the anxiety he was experiencing. So he and his counselor are working on other skills and developing some tools for him to work through the anxiety he's feeling. So I can go on and on about many different cases because we're seeing several thousand people a year, and during COVID we have noticed that our numbers are really high. And so I really encourage any of those who are looking at supporting the United Way to know that your monies are really going to really good use, and I encourage you to continue your support or even start your support with United Way. At Resolve, every day we see the benefits of United Way support, and we as an agency, we do our own fundraising as well because we know how much impact the United Way dollars have had on our community members. So I'm open to any questions at the end if anybody has any questions about mental health in our community.
Thank you, Kim. We're really grateful that you and your counselors are there for people in need. And thank you for running a fundraising campaign for the United Way. It's very heartwarming to see all our agencies also join the community and raise funds for us. So thank you. One of the challenges, what we've heard from people with lived experience, is that being in poverty is stressful. So imagine a time when the world is falling apart around you and you're living in poverty and low income. We are so grateful for the agencies who are there to help people when they are really vulnerable and in need. One of the agencies that we've got to know over time is Martha's Table. And most people know Martha's Table for the incredible food service that they offer, the meal program that they offer every single day. What's also important is the comfort that they offer, the sense of hope and dignity that they provide clients. So Ronda is going to tell you a little bit more about how they serve their clients who are facing some very stressful issues in their lives. So Ronda, over to you.
Thanks, Bhavana. Pre-pandemic, we provided breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a social center where people could relax. And we really promote inclusion, safety, provide access to nutritious food, and an opportunity to make vital connections and friendships within the community. So I've been with Martha's Table since 2008, and I've gotten to know so many of the people that frequent our facility. And it's often the best part of my day is when I get to chat with people and get to know them a little bit better, because we serve the most vulnerable populations in the city. Many are negatively impacted by stigma or discrimination. that's attached to mental illness, and it presents barriers not only to treatment but also to acceptance in the community. And that's where we really focus our attention, to reduce stigma and to give people a place where they're welcome. So I don't have any formal training in the field of mental health, so I'm speaking today really from my personal experiences, and that's, you know, at least 15 interactions per day for the last 12 years. So we have had some hands-on experience here. I find success in most situations, which we hope to end up with the individual feeling better about themselves and their situation, is to let them know that they are in a safe place, free of judgment, and that they have options. And those options, which really include them connecting them with professionals at other agencies, people that have the expertise and experience to help them through their situation, and also simply listening to them as they outline their struggles. So being respectful and approachable, patient and understanding as well. So, I mean, we all really want the same things, right? We all want to be, know that we're safe, we're welcomed, and we're heard and we're understood. So it's universal. So while in general, the vast majority of our guests struggle with varying degrees of mental health challenges, some Canadian statistics are by the age of 40, 1 out of 2 have experienced mental illness. Mental and physical health are linked. And again, we've tied food and social together because of that. But 20% of people with mental illness have a co-occurring substance use problem. And we also unfortunately see that in our environment too. People with serious mental health conditions are disproportionately affected by homelessness. And I've witnessed that over and over. There just aren't enough supports available to help people remain housed. And often people just aren't aware of how they should be interacting or what the best approach is. And I can certainly appreciate that, again, without formal training in this field, because there's so many varying factors. I was also shocked to learn that Canada's youth suicide rate is the 3rd highest in the industrialized world. So a lot of people need help and maybe falling through the cracks or choosing to avoid treatment or need support to sustain treatment. You know, many turn to self-medication. Sometimes it's after being prescribed a treatment and they don't like it or don't feel good. Sometimes they're frustrated and they say to themselves, why, nobody cares, who cares, why should I bother? And addiction becomes a factor in their situation. So at Martha's, of course, we have to be vigilant and aware of the circumstances, because we welcome everyone equally with no questions asked. And we want them to feel comfortable in our space. So I like to describe it as discreet vigilance. We want to keep everyone safe and comfortable. So firm and fair is our best approach and most used tool to ensure everyone has that same safety. As the numbers grow here at Martha's Table of who we've served, staff members were stretched to make those personal connections and offer assistance. So we were really pleased to partner with United Way and offer access to a social support worker, someone that is trained and has experience behind them that will help them connect in the community and with supports as needed. We hope that they would feel comfortable already in the space that they're familiar with and sort of streamline and speed up those bridges to a better future. So without United Way support, we couldn't have offered that. And we had that for 2 years. And I can tell you, it gave us relief as staff members, because we're very aware of not giving people incorrect information or advice. We listen, we care, and we try to steer them to professionals. So this was relief for everyone on staff here, but I know for sure that we had 2 suicide interventions at least. So someone had expressed to the counselor that, you know, they were thinking of suicide and they had a plan, and this was prevented simply by having someone on site. So vital. This is just life-changing for so many people. I have a story I'll share too of one person's path. I've gotten to know this gentleman over the last 10 years. And he's very candid in his sharing his situation, but I still won't name him. He reaches out often for help here at Martha's, and he's approximately 60, he's single. He's on ODSP. He's housed, although precariously. He's dealing with mental health issues as well. I don't know his diagnosis, but he has shared that he has challenges. So I've talked with him over the years, and he was even like, he's all through the stages. He's happy when he's sad or defeated, angry, furious. He often will mix prescription drugs or pharmaceuticals or illegal drugs. And it's a really bad combination. There was a time when we had to call the police to get assistance for this gentleman. We try to avoid that. And I mean, there's another time that we had to call an ambulance for him. And both times he was very upset and angry. I feel that he may have felt betrayed, but we really needed to reach out to professionals in those situations to get him the very best help possible. He knows he has to stop using drugs. It's a bad combination with his mental health. He knows it's going to kill him. He's been in rehab several times, and with his limited options, he lives the same routine. He sees the same crowd, and he ends up falling into the same habits and patterns. He's very intelligent and a thoughtful person. He excels at writing poetry and stories. And in fact, we included one of his poems in our holiday letter a few years ago. And, you know, it's just one of those stories where he expresses the dark pathways he's gone down and the challenges, but he always ended it with hope. After all he's gone through, he's hopeful that he can take care of himself and move forward. And as he described it, chase away his demons. It's something that he's struggled with his lifetime. And with United Way's funding, this gentleman, in fact, had a lot of engagement with our support worker and did make some strides forward. So another happy story. He still has some challenges to overcome, but I think he's in a better place. So I also say to staff and volunteers, it's also important that we protect our mental health and well-being, because it can be demanding. A lot of guests ask us questions, you know, where do I go? How do I do this? Or what do I do if this happens? There's a lot of demands on our time and our attention, our care, and we have to make sure that we've done the best we can today, and we can wake up tomorrow and start fresh. We may not have solved all the problems or even most of the problems, but we've done the very best we can today. And keep moving forward and keep at it day after day. The community is working together. And when I said earlier, people fall through the cracks, sometimes it's by their choice, but there are systems in place that we can get people directed where they need to go, because there's a lot of need out there. And it's just a really great place to be. The reward for us here at Martha's is, it's a very demanding environment, but we get to know people and we get to offer them nutritious meals that we hope helps them keep a little bit healthier. And we appreciate the opportunity to get to know them personally. And we just hope that they move forward in a better way. I've been with the organization 12 years, and it's the best place I've ever worked. And we work at it every single day. So it's a great community to be in. So thank you for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about our challenges and our successes. And I think mental health is a serious challenge, and I'm glad we're talking about it so openly today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. The other way, I have the privilege of working with these amazing agencies. You've heard from two of them. We funded over 87 programs just through COVID, and about 70 programs last year. Amazing work being done, very collaborative. Now we have a couple of questions. We have about 5 minutes, so we'll quickly do these. But during COVID, Kim and Rhonda, either of you can answer, do you find some people who have not used these services are reluctant to reach out? Do either of you have, yeah, Rhonda?
We've always worked hard to overcome the stigma of reaching out for help and saying, you know, I need some assistance today. So we do see that regularly. And although I can say I've seen it improve over the last few years with more public talk about mental health, it's becoming more accepted and understood. And I think that's the only way we continue to reduce the stigma, is just to make people understand that it could be any of us, but people do struggle over that hurdle just to say, I need some help today.
Are you finding that too?
So yes, I'd like to share that our intake workers often will hear people say, I don't know where to turn. I don't know what help I need, but I need some kind of help. And our intake workers are really trained to work through a little bit of a conversation to assess what exactly the need is. The United Way funding, as I mentioned, has been able to eliminate some of the financial barriers that our people are seeing, but we're also noticing some other barriers to counseling. Resolve offers most of our counseling right now through phone and video, but we do see some people face-to-face when there's particular barriers. For instance, if there's domestic violence in the home, it's not safe for somebody to have a counseling session in the home, and there's many other barriers. So at the very beginning of the pandemic, we found that people would say, no, I'll just wait until we can see each other face to face. And like all of us, we realized that we can't really wait. So we had a little bit of a slower period for the first month. And then since then, people are saying, I can't wait anymore, and are contacting us for some services. United Way has helped to fund a program, we call it Youth Outreach, that goes out into the community. Youth have been one of the harder to engage. Typically, they're a harder to engage group, but particularly during COVID. And so we have our youth workers going to the youth shelter and to kind of go where youth are. And we have a couple of government funded programs that we go to where youth are. In addition, some of our individual and family counselors that are working with folks who are 18 and older are also working in the community when people are in need. So our job is to eliminate as many barriers as we can, and to try to meet people where they're at so that they can access the services they need.
Right. I'm going to turn it back to Patrick, but one quick, someone has asked, I think you've answered part of it. How do social support members reach the community? I'll answer that. Firstly, a lot of them are mobile. They're actually going where people are at. So people who are homeless, people who need help. The agencies also work really closely together to refer to each other. So there is a vast network, but that's a great question. It's a topic for a whole lunch and learn someday. So we'll come back to that someday. But in the meantime, I'll hand it back to you, Patrick. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Bhavana, and thank you to both our panelists today, to Kim and to Rhonda. Wonderful to hear about this extraordinary work that you're doing and the difference that the United Way makes to that work, especially at a time that is so challenging for so many people in our community. We really appreciate you providing your experience and your expertise in this discussion today. So thanks to both of you, and thank you also to Bhavana for moderating. Thanks to everyone else also for joining us, and I hope you will join us next week when we'll be discussing issues, as we said, around food security and how the United Way is supporting this work in our community. So thanks very much, everyone, for joining us, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.